gave them fire and so that they became enlightened.
And that, I guess, can be symbolized then by the association between Uranus and technology that you mentioned. That the initial fire that was given to man is the first step towards beginning to utilize tools and things like that. And I guess then what you're saying is that even if we apply this idea to modern times with Uranus, we can see that we've made incredible technological leaps in regards to internet and cell phones and what have you, right?
Exactly. It's very interesting because also Neptune, which rules Pisces, is in Aquarius, which is ruled by Uranus. So it's like a double whammy of this kind of feeling, really bringing things on to do with being connected and getting, having leaps forward in those directions. The thing was that Zeus's punishment for Prometheus was to chain him up in the Caucasus Mountains, and every day he got his liver pecked out by an eagle,
right.
And every night it grew back in an eternal suffering. And if you look at people that really challenge the current ideas, they often get shot down by the by society
and have huge struggles like that in a sense, or battles that is continuous, right?
Well, yes, anybody who stands up and challenges the status quo, they have to go through that Promethean type suffering. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, gods are alive and well today as they were 3,000 years ago.
Right. Do you think that it's possible for people to pass through that, or is that something that kind of comes with the territory of standing up against the status quo?
I do. I think that's, if you like, the downside.
Yeah, right.
But it's almost like it's a compulsion.
Yeah.
When you, as I say, if you have Uranus strong in your chart, you have that compulsion, you have that need to seek enlightenment. And it's that sort of eureka moment, that you feel that you're coming up with a new idea, but it might rock the boat or the establishment. And so therefore it becomes very difficult.
So what you're also saying here then, I guess, is that this is something that we're also now then experiencing, globally around the planet. Maybe you can just tell us a little bit about how you apply something like 2012 in regards to astrology. Have you looked at the specific time, and from that you get the chart for? Does that apply then to the entire planet? I know that you specifically looked at the UK, but how do you make the distinction between countries, or can that be done?
Yeah, absolutely. The thing is, it won't be just the UK. What I'm coming to with the Uranus, being more specific about Uranus and Pluto is because the Uranus-Pluto cycle is so significant in 2012. And what the best thing to do with astrology is to look back to see, well, what happened when these two planets came into aspect in the past. Now, this particular cycle started in the mid-60s. And so if you just have to look back at the mid-60s to see what was going on, it was a time of kind of, it was a kind of a revolutionary period, because you've got, Richard Tarnas has written the most fantastic book, Cosmos and Psyche, and in it he lays out all his research that he's been doing over the last 30 years on the cycles of the outer planets and the effects in society. And it's just brilliant. It's a brilliant reference book. And yeah, there's when this particular cycle started in the mid-60s, it was a time of huge upheaval. But it was almost like, for the first time, people were standing up against their governments and saying, no, this isn't right. If you look in America, we had all the riots against the war in Vietnam. even around the world. In China, we have the Cultural Revolution. It was, a time of, and if you look at Pluto ruling sex and Uranus ruling revolution, we literally had a sexual revolution.
Right.
So it's a time of incredible turmoil for people, exciting for some, very, very frightening for others. So it depends on your attitude, I think, to change.
And who do you think we talk about those who will perceive this as negative? Can you make a kind of astrological / psychological profile on those? Do you think that some of these people will have other planets particularly prominent in their charts, maybe?
Yes, I do. I mean, sticking with Uranus and Pluto, so the Uranian type people are wanting change. They're wanting freedom for a start. The Pluto type people are thinking, oh yes, all these freedoms being taken away from us in the name of it being for our own good, it will make them feel more secure. So they're the ones that are going to be pro more tightening of security and having our liberties taken away from us.
Really?
Yes, I mean there are people that when I sort of say, since 9/11, for instance, which was a huge opportunity for America to really look at its own dark side, if you like. It has really, really tightened up on security, and a lot of people think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
I personally don't. I'm more in the Uranian camp.
Right.
And no, I feel that, and the thing is, in 2012, Uranus and Pluto started the cycle in the mid-60s when they were conjunct, they're together in the heavens, and over the years, they have moved into a 90-degree aspect. And this is what's called termed a square aspect.
Right.
And it's full of tension. Now, on the one hand, you've got the clash of these energies. You've got the clash of Pluto exerting more control, and you've got the clash of Uranus having moved into the sign more associated with war, Aries, rebelling. So I think that in terms of what will be going on in society, I think there could be very well a revolutionary type spirit because of the controls and our liberties being taken away from us is going to increase so much.
Yeah. Can we talk about civil unrest in that regard, or more like not maybe a war between militaries of countries and so forth, but more of people versus governments or those who are trying to instigate this control? Is that what potentially we could be seeing here?
Yes.
Huh.
Yes, exactly. Because at the moment, that's why I say that we're already in the process of what's happening. So I talked about the outer planets moving into a different sign. So we've got Pluto moving into Capricorn, so that's to do with the establishment and governments and institutions.
Yeah.
They're all coming up for a kind of death and renewal. So we've got that going on. We've got Uranus is going to be moving into from the sign Pisces into Aries. So again, that is going to shift our perception.
So does that mean, sorry to interrupt there, but does that mean then that the properties of Uranus will go from being more, I guess, fluent and dreamy that you said before, to being more warlike and focused, and so the urge for, let's say, the rebellious spirit is going to be even more going into a warlike mode, right?
Yes, exactly.
Interesting.
Now, at the moment, and we're already getting a taste of that, because interestingly enough, the first exact opposition between the planets Uranus and Saturn, which rules Capricorn, so has similar kind of properties, if you like, was on the 4th of November 2008, which was the day of the presidential elections, which I thought was absolutely fascinating, because here we have Uranus represented by Barack Obama, you know, the new, the different, just by the sheer fact he's black, means that there's a shift here, there's a change, which is very Uranian, against McCain, who stood for the sort of the conventional side of Saturn. It was the old, the tried, the conservative, it was the old guard, if you like.
Do you think that they consciously put the date of the election at this specific time?
I wonder.
They must have, right? I mean, just look at the research people have done on the astrological correlations between cities that are planned in America and the stars and so forth. You know.
Yeah, I suspect that governments and that do use occult knowledge. I'm sure they do.
I remember just an article that I put up a while back that talked about this idea. Especially, this was actually pre the financial disturbance time that we're currently going through. But I remember this article that talked about the fact that a lot of banks and the bankers were consulting astrologers to try to figure out where the market was going to go. So from that account, at least, we know that a lot of people who are up on the executive level within banking are definitely interested in astrology in order to try to find out what is going to happen, tomorrow.
Yes, I think most astrologies could have predicted the financial crash that began last year because of the configurations. And if you want my opinion, I'm not entirely sure how it is in Sweden, but here in the UK, we are officially in recession, but I think it will deepen as the year goes on, because in the autumn, Pluto is going to join the Saturn-Uranus opposition in what's called a T-square, which is even more severe.
Okay.
And if you look back at times where there have been Saturn-Pluto square, they are usually signs or times of depression.
Very
but it's almost like we have to experience that for things to change.
Right. So this is well, again, I guess if we look at it from the astrological point of view, this is a cycle that keeps on coming and going, and it's up to us to learn and grow from it. The question is that we might even be our purpose to live through these times in order to either not be dragged into the effects of it, or I guess the purpose of it is to just live through it and do the best we can. But again, what I'm seeing is that this is an opportunity for actually bringing in true change and really to see the power structure go down, if you will.
I think it almost has to, because it wasn't sustainable. The sign of Sagittarius is to do with expansion, it's to do with excess. And so since 1995, we've had, we've been living on credit.
Yeah.
And it's almost like no limitations, whereas Capricorn is the sign to do with limitations. So it's like, the party's over. Now we've got to face the hard reality. Because Capricorn's an earth sign, whereas Sagittarius is fire. Fire is always to do with the future and the potential and myth and symbol, whereas the earth signs are to do with hard reality. And so for Pluto to go into, in myth, he was the Dark Lord of the underworld.
Yeah.
And if we look what was going on when Pluto was discovered in 1930, we had the rise of the Third Reich.
Yes.
Think of the power and control in that. So, positively, it was also the birth of, at the time of the birth of depth psychology.
Exactly.
So it's